Shawn and I met actually how many years ago, Shawn? I
Six,
did
seven, maybe. It's
maybe,
been I don't want to say it, but
yeah,
it's
we
been a
were
while.
at Tech something or other, and I was a speaker there, and Shawn and I just kind of hit it off, and have been good friends ever since. And I've been following his career, he's been following mine. And I invited him to speak today because I think he has some unusual things to share with us, his background, and the premise of this program. Over and over and over again, you're going to hear me say that patterns that were created in childhood impact us as grown-ups. And many, you're all business people. That's how I know you all, and that's how we've all connected. You've got great careers. You're doing all kinds of amazing things. And we talk a lot about business, but we don't always talk about the things that go on inside between here and here. And that's my territory. And as we know of what's going on in this world, mental health now is becoming urgent and important. And I'm hoping to spread that this is something that we can share and we can talk about and get under the hood of what really makes people tick. Because as we know, it's that emotional connection and relationships that are going to change the world. So welcome, Shawn. I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about your background. I have a couple questions that I'm going to ask you, and then we can kind of go off from there. So tell us a little bit about your family of origin, where you came from, anything that you think would be helpful for people to know about you.
Okay. I mean, going really early. I grew up in the East Bay, in Danville. I have two sisters, an older sister and a younger sister. My parents were both only children. So right there, that should be a lot of interesting questions from Tina later on the dynamics when only children get married. But with that, I mean, I grew up in Danville. Um, Very interesting times. I mean, I was in high school during the .com uh, big bust, boom and bust. Uh, Growing up, love sports, very competitive. One thing that's was very interesting with me. My mom was the first person ever to have open heart surgery and then have a pig valve replacement, and then have a kid after. So I'm the first baby ever born after that type of procedure. So that was very interesting growing up as well. In my family, dad was a pharmacist, mom got a master UC Berkeley, education very important. And one of my hobbies, not only sports but martial arts particularly. So that was kind of a lot of the quick things of me growing up. So I'm pretty excited to and nervous what type of questions are gonna come about
Oh
later, because Tina and I, we didn't prep for this, so I don't have a question set. I'm sure she doesn't know a lot of what I just said there. uh,
my
so so it's gonna be interesting.
No,
For me
it's all
though, another thing that might be interesting, I mean, growing up, my mom had this spoon collection of every place she traveled to in the world, and there's something like 83 spoons. So she would tell us growing up, she was a school teacher, and every summer she'd spend the 3 months just traveling, and she would tell us, all these adventures, and when you grow up you have to travel. uh, when I went to college after that, I traveled. I lived overseas for about 8 years total. I was in Costa Rica, China, Europe, back to China, and then came back to the US in 2013. Got involved with an angel group here in Silicon Valley. From that, pivoted to working with a company backed by the second largest land development company in China, doing road shows, helping companies set up operations between here and tech parks built in China. Got involved with a lot of investment bankers in that time, and now I'm a mid-market investment banker focused on
good.
mergers,
Don't you think
acquisition,
Shawn
growth
is
capital,
too
and
young to have
secondaries.
all that experience? That's what, but he does. What he
If
does.
I wore a hat, I would look a lot younger, but
Okay, so again, you don't have to share anything with us that you don't want to share. That's a
well,
premise,
Jacob
and
told me it's a safe place, so
it
I
is
feel
a
good.
safe place. It is definitely a safe place. So, what kinds of behavior patterns did you develop in response to your upbringing, the good news, what were some of the good things that took you really honestly to where you are right now?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of great things, the importance of education, the importance of trying things, the setting goals and kind of breaking those goals down. At least I remember specifically in martial arts, okay, aim for the next stripe. Okay, those stripes will then lead to a belt. Now you're at the next color belt. Now it's time to go for the next stripe, and just kind of breaking it down. Okay, to get to that stripe, you need to know this kata or learn this, and you could kind of see that, and then okay, let's transfer that over to basketball. Now I get to dribble between my legs or behind my back or that, and you get to see the micro goals for the big goal to the big picture that you're shooting for and be able to visualize that out. And just having a lot of importance in breaking things down with ultimate goals and striving to those and seeing once you get there what that leads to. And because I don't know, in my house, I would say both my parents were overachievers in kind of a sense. Same with very education focused family, very very smart people. I got to look at my mom's report cards growing up. I was like, oh, you got all A's at Berkeley. Oh, okay. So so so
So
very competitive as well.
yeah, so one of the things that you brought up, since most of you know me, that I created this program called Mastery Under Pressure. And the way that you describe the way that you learn things is just staying in the present, one thing at a time, mastering that, and then moving on. People get into a lot of trouble when we have these expectations of ourselves that are so far in the future that we can't possibly reach them, right? So I really want to point that out, that I'm sure is the underpinning of a lot of your success, Shawn.
Hmm.
Okay, now the next question. What kind of patterns did you develop that haven't served you so well, that you had to kind of look at and reevaluate
Ooh,
and go back and shift?
good question. I think one of the patterns, going back to what I just said, was also when you set a goal to complete it, where there's definitely been times where I've gone, wait, I should just stop this right now. This is, I'm too focused on even something small like finishing this book, where the book is maybe not the best read. Maybe you're a third away in, you're like, yeah, I don't want to read the next 200 pages, but there's a part of you that goes, you started it, let's see it through, let's finish it. So that is something, and actually I still struggle with that now, to be honest. There's a book I'm reading right now that's part of like 4 other books that I'm like, okay, I'll just go back to it, read another chapter, even though I don't want this, but it's just there's this thing that nags at you when you start something to complete it. So that's a trait or something that I've picked up that it served me great in many things, but there's definitely times where it's been a hindrance.
Exactly. So again, that you finish what you start, right? But at times, sometimes you have to be able to recognize, is this taking me to where I want to go,
Yep.
right? And is this a good use of my time? And that what we decide in the moment may not be the best decision as we get down the road, right?
Yes,
So it's
that
that
is
constant
definitely true.
reevaluation, right? Right, right. So when in your life did you begin to start to recognize that you had to make some adjustments?
Oh, always. Oh God. I think I mean just the idea of either I could play basketball or baseball. What where do I allocate my time? Or okay, if I get good grades, I get so for my in my house growing up, as long as I got great grades, my parents would kind of give me free will to do something, whether it was choose to go over to my friend's house during the week or maybe watch TV or something like that. But if the grades went down, then 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 the freedom walls started closing. So I would have to really really decide, okay, can I watch this episode of Simpsons or should I study more for this test? And it actually really set me up for success in college, to be honest, because I noticed so many other people that didn't have that free will growing up freshman year of college, they lost control. Whereas I'd already been in hey, I have to govern myself and know my boundaries and know how to allocate time and resources and that. So having that responsibility early on in my life really I think has helped me, and that, even past college while traveling, while doing other things. But growing up, that was a decision of allocation of this or that. Hey, friends saying, hey, come over, we're gonna ride our bikes, with me thinking, wait, I really want to, this would be so much fun, and in the moment it'd be great, but I need to get this, read and get this work done for the test at the end of the week that would then lead to the grade and then would give me more freedom for later on.
So,
So
so again, I'm going to interrupt because these things are jewels.
mm,
Okay, because what your parents instilled in you was the ability to look at the consequences of your own behavior.
yep.
A lot of times people used to say to me all the time, you're so disciplined. No, I'm not really that disciplined. I just, if I want this, I got to do it. If I shortchange myself and go over here, then I don't get that. And so my father had a way, Shawn, he used to say, we'll give you enough rope to hang yourself. That was like his favorite saying. That we actually told at his funeral. But that's the way he raised my sister, my brother, and I. And so, yes, that sense, your parents did an amazing, amazing job of instilling in you, these principles have that you have really kind of just taken in and integrated into your life that have allowed you to be successful,
Yeah.
right? And so
Oh,
I'm pointing them out because they may be just like for you, just like, oh yeah, 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 that's the way it is. But no, it's not always
oh,
that way it is.
oh, it definitely was not. None of my friends had the same freedom as I did. They were always jealous. And I was like, you guys don't understand. If I mess up, I'm in 10 times worse shape than you guys. I
Right? Absolutely. Okay, so I know that you speak Chinese,
mm,
and that's a big part of your life and spending time in China. And how did that kind of come into this career? That's one question. And then I have
mm.
another one behind it.
I mean, one of the reasons, okay, so how did it come to this career right now? One of the investment bankers at the investment bank I'm at, I actually met him years back when he had raised growth capital for a company and they were looking for a new manufacturer in China. And through my contacts and network there, I was able to make an introduction. And I'm really good at maintaining relationships. And I just maintained that relationship, which then led to when I was looking for a new investment bank to go to, just reaching out to them. And then they made basically introduced me to everyone else and just said, hey, guys, I worked with Shawn years ago. I trust him. He's got this great track record. He'd be great for our team. And that was years ago when that happened, that led to now. Um, with China itself, I mean, so much more actually. Even the investment bank I was at prior, how I got there for my transition from helping companies do these roadshows to being at the investment bank was a Chinese contact. I made an intro to the investment bank, and they did a transaction. The investment bank made a lot of money up that transaction. Said, "Hey, you got this great network. You're smart. You're good with people. We're interested in sponsoring your licenses, and would you be, come on board?" And so that goes back to China and the network and that. Um, I mean, spending almost 5 years there, so much currently has been built on that time and the experience there. Because, well, one, I mean, I met my wife there. That's huge. To even get there, the first year I was there, I couldn't speak to anyone, and I totally engulfed myself in the country. I mean, my roommate was Chinese. The gym I went to, I picked out the Chinese gym, everything. I told everyone I was from Costa Rica and I couldn't speak English, so they either had to speak to me in Chinese or they couldn't talk to me at all. So for a year, I was just pointing at things, making weird sounds before I could actually have any type of communication with anyone. And that really taught me to, really listen to people, study body language, try to, interpret what was going on for the situation. And that I can't even tell you how much of a strong position that puts me in when I'm in meetings to this day. Just looking across the table, going, okay, that person's not speaking, but I see his body fidgeting. What does that tell me? That person, when I halfway through that sentence, clenched his hand. Why would he do that? Okay, maybe I need to step back a few sentences and go back. Just, hey, that guy, his voice, there was that little cough or a little when he was talking right there. Why right there when he said that? Let me follow up with a question. And it's really, really taught me to pinpoint and pay attention to everyone in the room, because there was, for so long, I wasn't able to actually understand any words anyone was saying. And before China, I did have that experience in Costa Rica for a while, where I was in a, you know, the farm area for about 4 months, not being able to talk to anyone. So I got a little bit of that there, but China developed it to another level.
Right. And so again, just pointing out, you developed it. You made the choice that that was something that was really important to you.
Huh.
And in your way, as you can see how we're getting to know Shawn through these patterns, that you repeated over and over and over again, that are continuing to allow you to be successful. We those of us that, you have core values inside. And then again, we repeat the good, the not so good. But what I'm also hearing, Shawn, is how your level of awareness,
Mm.
right? Because we can't change anything unless we're aware, right?
Yep.
So your willingness to be open and not necessarily have to be right or wrong, that it is what it is, right? And you see the situation for what it is, and then you move forward, right?
Mm.
So I'm wondering also, do you we have some questions here, which I'm gonna take some time in a little bit to have you answer some of these questions. In terms of leadership, how you lead, what's your premise for having people who are underneath you and that you're mentoring, perhaps, or what are some of the things that you try to impart to them?
I mean, really, for me, and what I find works more than anything is telling the story where they can see themselves in the story, where they can see how whatever is happening benefits them and they visualize it themselves for later on in the future. I mean, an example of this is right now, I've so Bay Angels, the second oldest angel group in Silicon Valley. I was the investment director with them for a little while. Over the pandemic, they took about 2 years off. The founder semi-retired and asked if I wanted to take over. So the last few months, I've just been rebuilding the organization, bringing it back to life, and it's a club more or less. It's just people getting together that are really interested in working with startups, possibly investing in startups, but helping the whole ecosystem grow. And it's, no one's getting paid, but they're all volunteering their time. And well, how do you do that with, uber successful people? It's telling them the story of how what they're doing is going to make an impact for these others, how they're giving back, how they're putting smiles on people's faces, how they're going beyond just what's immediately in front of them, and showing them and telling them the big picture. And it's not a picture that they're watching on a movie screen, it's a picture that they're involved in the play, in the act, and how important they are in the play, going from scene to scene. And it's really getting them to emotionally commit
Yes.
into that role to get people to go and do more than you could ever expect them to do.
So again, you're bringing it down into emotion, right?
Mhm.
Again, we talk so much in our world in terms of logic and strategy and all these heady, kind of thinking oriented kinds of things. But people actually act and respond on emotion.
Hmm.
And this is all part of doing this. And I can see just briefly just some of the questions that you've brought up, so many good things. So I'm going to open it up because I know that you have some great answers for some of these things. And Jacob says you have me thinking about so many things from a micro lens. So Jacob, do you have a particular question? And then Christos has a question behind that.
I almost don't want to take any time away because I'd love to hear the answer to Krista's question or have a dialogue about that. That sounds brilliant. No, I was just saying how much I appreciated that and being able to slow yourself down and look at things from a micro sense while crazy things are happening around. Mastery under pressure, right? So no, thank you.
You got it. So Christos says, how
Oh,
universal do
I can ask it, Tina. I can
Oh,
ask
go
it.
ahead. Yes, there you go.
So, Shawn, I was wondering what, from your experience, you talked a lot about body language and it being important, and it's helped you overcome obstacles, especially with language. How universal do you find body language is? Costa Rica, China, US, obviously different, completely different cultures. Do you find it translates from one to another?
I would say that when you look at the whole scenario, it translates really well. And what I mean by a whole scenario is, a lot of conversations, someone will talk, but then look over at someone else. And you're like, okay, that person's looking over for approval. Or, hey, that person, his voice is getting louder or quieter. Or that person, when the other person's talking, suddenly decides to look at their phone or things like that. And just the whole scenario, you can kind of see that the power structure, the dynamics, the interaction between the people, and then based on that, really gather the situation a lot more. I I find that people definitely do, when they're uncomfortable with something, their voice will do that little break up, or get a little softer when it's something they're unsure of, or there's a lot of things where they'll talk about building rapport with the mirror and matching, using those target words that the other person across from you using. Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, yeah, no, I think that's fun too. That's really exciting to me as well. And just that, I find that universal, just depending on what the word is. um and there's a lot of things that, not only, how do I say this, when you're looking at the situation as a whole, you also start really seeing the social dynamics of cultures as well. Okay, and we're in Silicon Valley, so everyone's at this level equal, but in reality, other countries, it's okay, guys are here, females are here, refer to the guys over here. Okay, the person sitting at this part of the table or that part has this, and just kind of making notice of everything. Okay, that person's ahead of the table. Who's to the right? Who's to the left? Okay, the person to the right is the one I'm going to follow up with to get this stuff done. The person left, do they really even matter? Do I spend time there? Or, okay, just when you start thinking of how everything plays out, I think that's really universal. Power dynamics, power structures. Um, but a lot of body language, once you get the baseline, once you have enough conversation with the person, or see the person long enough that you start seeing or hearing irregularities, that's what you pick up on. I mean, maybe country to country, it's different what that is, but on an individual, if that person's, maybe it's someone from France, all of a sudden you hear this, you're like, wait, they weren't doing that anytime before. Why did that suddenly happen right now? What's going on? It's more figuring out the base and then the changes, and then going back, going, okay, what triggered that change? What should I be thinking of? Is it relating to this conversation, or maybe it's just something that person thought, or what? And the situation awareness of everything total, and that is what I'd say is
how much that has gotten lost over Zoom and virtual calls.
Oh my gosh, I Zoom is a killer. Like I am any real negotiation. Like I was just in Puerto Rico and Miami. We're helping a company get acquired that's founders lives there. Just sitting across from him, in 30 minutes, I got way more than 4 months of Zoom calls. Like it's such a big difference of things that we like. And I really think, yeah. Oh,
I'm going
sorry,
to
Tina.
add one thing too, because I think, Shawn, what you have developed, maybe even unconsciously, is a connection to your own body
Hmm.
that gives you information.
Yeah.
Because only listen, when we're listening just with our heads, we're missing things. But if we're listening with our whole bodies, right, you get a hit for this or you get a hit for that.
Yeah. Well, Tina, I mean, and question for the group. How many times have you had that gut feeling that then 3 months later you realize your gut was telling you right, that you should have listened to it way before? I mean,
Yeah.
I literally had this conversation the other day where I went to a person. Hey, I just met this guy for lunch. There's something not right. I'm not sure. Looked on LinkedIn. Who's he, connection with? I know that person. Hey, I just met him for lunch. What are your thoughts? I don't like the guy for these reasons. Really? Oh my gosh, my gut was telling me this the whole time I was sitting down with him, and you've confirmed it. Thank you. You know, I don't see why we aren't trusting ourselves more. I don't
Well,
know.
we're not trained to.
Yeah.
We're not trained to. And thus, under the hood, mastery under pressure, that is my reason for being, honestly, is to expand everybody's consciousness and your level of awareness because we have this instrument, and you've just described it so beautifully, Shawn. You have a beautiful instrument that you have developed, and you continue to fine tune it and fine tune it. We never really arrive. We're just, when they do that, that's kind of when this lifetime is over. But in the meantime, you're a wonderful student,
Oh,
and I so appreciate. I've learned so many new things about you that I didn't know,
oh,
and I'm hoping that you use this also, to be able to share with your people and the things that help to make you tick,
hmm.
because these are the
Well,
things that lead to your
well,
success.
I think some of it I don't want to tell anyone. I want, I want to have that
Keep your
advantage on
secrets. I
this
hear.
side of the table.
Well, you do it with discretion, but this is now public. I know Shawn
Safe
is a
space.
very, very laid back, yeah, quiet kind of guy. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
No.
So I'm very mindful of people's time, and we are now up at our half hour. And as is happening with each one of these things, we could go on, and perhaps maybe we'll kind of stretch it out at some point. But I want to thank you, Shawn,
Oh,
from my heart, really, for being just a wonderful guest.
oh,
And
no, thank you for the opportunity to be here and trusted me with everyone's time and that. So no, thank you. This has been a pleasure.
yeah, and to each and every one of you, thank you for joining us. You will get the replay. You can share them. Shawn has made it. But they still won't know what he's thinking behind that thing, because most behavior is so unconscious that people don't even have any idea that they're doing it. So, and thank you, Lewis, again for hosting us. Lewis is from the UK and Scotland. He's
Oh,
just been my right hand, fabulous human being to be here and make this all happen. So, once again, see you next month, where we have my friend Catherine Bell, who is a real estate investor, fabulous woman with just an incredible, incredible story. So, I hope you'll come back and see us again. Thanks so much. Bye, y'all.
all right. Thank you.
And save the, oh, wait, save the chat. If you want, before, yeah, there's a lot of wonderful stuff here. So save the chat. There you go. Bye for now.
Tina, thank you. Oh, Tina left.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
Well, thank
Usually she
you.
doesn't.
I was gonna say thank you again to Tina. She just disappeared.
That's right. This is still being recorded, so you can leave her a message.
All right, Tina, thank you for the honor of being guest number 4. I really appreciate it. I really had a lot of fun. Thank you for asking me some great questions, and everyone that attended. Please connect with me. My LinkedIn is in the chat. If you need any help or have any companies that are looking to get acquired or raise growth capital or anything like that, or just want to continue the conversation about traveling overseas and all that fun stuff, please let me know. And once again, thank you guys.